Welcome back to my channel, man. We on the road to 600. Damn, I be fucking the metro up. We on the road to 300 subscribers. If you're not already subscribe to the game. See, that's what happens when you try to do multiple channels. When you try to do multiple channels, you be getting certain stuff like fucked up, like subscribers and shit. I be getting that shit all fucked up. But now we on the road to 300 subscribers, bro. But now I want to talk to y'all about something. I got a testimony. And honestly, I wasn't even going to talk about this subject because I didn't feel like it was necessary for my channel. I won't say necessary for my channel. I just didn't want to speak on it because it's a real crazy situation. But I'm like, fuck it. She see this shit, she see this shit. She know exactly what happened. She know the situation. What happened and shit. I need me a fucking haircut. But anyway, so as y'all know, what started this whole channel was my homeless situation. And you know what I mean? But I never really got into details and shit like that, or why I was homeless, or how I got in that predicament in the first place. So this video is really gonna be telling y'all exactly what happened over the last few years and what made me choose to become homeless. And I'm not saying I wanted to be homeless, but I wanted to get out of this situation. And I feel like in order for me to, unfortunately, the only way I was able to get out of that situation was becoming homeless. So there was this girl that I known for a while. We met, you know me, at Job Corps or whatever the criminal is. And I'm not gonna badmouth her. I'm not gonna speak down on her, because at the end of the day, she was a person that I did care about and I still love, you know what I mean, cold-heartedly, because she did help me out in different ways. Hold on. Yeah, she helped me out in different ways and shit. But I just, like, what actually really made me want to do this video is because I just seen this girl make this video about her whole pregnancy and how she was abused and shit. Now, I wasn't really abused. I just was, let me get into the story. But anyway, so it kind of like inspired me to the sense to make me want to do this video in a sense, you know what I'm saying? And I gotta hurry up with this video because the nigga really gotta pee. But I wanted to do this video before I went in there or whatever. Cause I don't mind walking outside doing videos, but I don't want to just be walking around in stores and shit on my phone, cause people look at you crazy when you're on your phone and shit. Not realizing that I could be on FaceTime and some crazy shit like that. But no, it's real shit. Let me get a true story. So basically, I met her through Job Corps, and I know her for about almost close to down there a decade. I knew her, it's been almost 9-10 years or whatever. And we've been cool. Like that was family. I knew her family. She knew my family. Well, she knew of my family. She only really knew my mama for real, and she knew my cousin. But we had met through Job Corps or whatever, and we had stayed together first time or whatever, because we both graduated from Job Corps or whatever. We was in the same trade class and whatever. And we lived together previously in Kentucky, because I stayed in 3 different states. I didn't stay at home, of course, hometown, Virginia Beach. I didn't stay in Norfolk. I didn't stay in Portsmouth. I didn't stay in Kentucky, and I also stayed in Atlanta, and I also stayed in Alabama. When me and her stayed in Alabama and Kentucky and Atlanta all together. But this last few these last few years was like one of the worst times of my life in a sense, because it was good and bad. We had our good moments, and then we also had our bad moments. The good moments was, you know what I mean, us partying, having fun, celebrating birthdays, you know, and going to the strip club and clubs and shit like that, going to trips and shit. We went to Nashville. I'd been to a few different places and shit. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not here to like down talk her and make her out to be a horrible person. She's not a horrible person. She's different. But when I say the situation when it was bad, it was bad. When it was good, it was, when it was bad, it was horrible. When it was good, it was beautiful. You know what I'm saying? It was beautiful. Well, I would have told this story because I feel like it might be somebody that been through this shit or experienced this shit that can might relate, or it might be somebody that's actually going through this whole situation that right now that might need some shit like this to motivate them to get out of that situation. If you ever deal with somebody that's very controlling, you will understand. Like, when I say she's controlling, she was controlling down there my whole experience, like my whole life. I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that, I couldn't move the way I want to move. When I was working, I worked my ass off. And I think that's another thing that played a part on my whole life and how that changed my life and how I view life. Like the way, you know what I mean, me getting out of that situation made me view life in a whole different aspect. You know what I'm saying? Like the way I view money, I view humans, I view life. I just look at everything different. I don't say I hold on to money because I still spend money like a motherfucker, but I actually am a lot better with my funds because I've been through the whole being broke, working your ass off, but you're not seeing your funds type shit. And it's like the worst experience ever. My fault, yeah. There'll be a lot of shit going on out here. There'll be a lot of shit going on out here. You know, you just gotta stay on your pivot and shit. But no, on some real shit though, like she was controlling down there everything. When I say controlling, she was controlling my funds. She was controlling the way I view, like the way I look, how I got back and forth to work, the jobs that I was working at, everything. Like everything was just like I couldn't do anything for her. I couldn't move the way I wanted to be able to move, and I feel like you know what I mean. I went through depression. I didn't went through depression. I didn't went through just, and my depression was horrible. Like I'm talking about, I didn't give a fuck about how I viewed myself. I didn't give a fuck how I looked. Nothing. I was just over it. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a horrible situation because first of all, I've always been a hustler. I've always been about my money, and I don't like being broke. You know what I mean? Even for like a day or two, I don't like the fact that I don't be having money. So, you know what I mean? And just put this shit into perspective, right? Imagine you going to work every day and you dealing with the bullshit at your job, right? You dealing with the bullshit ass bosses, managers, and you not even seeing the funds that you working your ass off for because somebody has control over that shit. That shit is like mind-boggling. That shit can really fuck you up mentally. That shit make you look at, you know what I mean? And then I didn't have no phone for like 3 or 4 years because like I told y'all, I had a previous channel. And that first channel I had was reactions, and that shit went to almost, I think it was at 500, no, almost at 500 subscribers. I think it was like 485 or some shit like that. And I almost had that shit, but then I had broke my phone. And then you know how like everything be linked to your old YouTube, your old, you know what I mean, Gmail and shit like that. And if you got the 2-factor authorization thing going in, and you don't have access to that phone, you really don't have no way of getting access to that Gmail anymore. So, you know what I mean? I had went without a phone for like 3 or 4 fucking years. I couldn't talk to family. I couldn't talk to my peoples. For a little while, I was talking to my mom, but then even I started talking to my mama for a long time. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really have no access, no communication with family back at home and nothing. And that's another one of the reasons why I wanted to move back home, because I haven't seen my family in over, before I came home, I hadn't seen my family in over like 3 or 4 fucking years. And if you know me personally, you know, first of all, I always had a phone, and my phone was always on, and then I always able to get in contact. My family was always able to get in contact with me, whether or not they chose to get in contact with me, that was on them, but they had access to be able to get in contact with me for whatever reason. And I always had money on me. I want to say I've had my time while I was broke, but I've always been a hustler. I've always tried to figure out ways to get a job and maintain some type of cash on me, whether I was selling weed, selling cigarettes, selling food stamps, working 2-3 jobs. You know what I mean? I always been about my money. So as y'all see, ever since I came home, I've been about my money. I done got me a job, got food stamps and all type of shit. I didn't get back on my feet like a motherfucker. But something in my heart the whole entire time, just I wanted to get out. I wanted to get out of that situation. I was like, I'm ready to go back home, go to my family, make me some money, and just live my life. Cause I'm looking at it like this: you only got one life to live, twin. And I don't want to look back and still be stuck in the fucked up situation 5-6 years from now, and they be like, damn, I didn't really do nothing with my life because somebody been controlling this shit. And I'm not saying this to say she's a horrible person, because she's not. She had a heart full of gold. She did a lot for me, you know what I mean, mentally, emotionally, you know what I'm saying. We was never homeless. We never, you know what I mean, went through no crazy situation. It's just, when you want your life a certain way, and somebody else wants your life a certain way, it can be very like push and pull type situation. And like I said at the beginning, I'm not out here to pull her down and make her out to be a horrible person. She was just a controlling person. And I don't know if that's just a Scorpio thing. Yeah, I was one of people kept stopping at that sign, but it's a stop sign right there. But no, I don't know if that's just a Scorpio thing, and I'm not really into the whole sign shit or whatever. But I know a lot of Scorpios that are like kind of like very controlling and shit. But nah, it's just like, the reason why I'm posting this video is just to tell niggas, like, if you in that situation, get the fuck out of that situation. I don't care if you gotta be out on your own. You gotta be, because even with me being homeless, if I was at peace, bro. I was able to move and maneuver and do what the fuck I want to do. I had my funds back. Whenever I got some money, I was able to just keep that shit and spend it on what the fuck I wanted to spend it on. I was just at peace, you know what I'm saying? And then I got closer with God. Like, my relationship with God got so, you know what I mean? Over the last few years, I tell you, I prayed and cried and just prayed that I got out of that situation. Even when I got out of that situation, I was homeless. I still was praying every day. I still was keeping God first, because at the end of the day, I was like, God got me out of the situation. And ever since I got out of that situation, God's been blessing me. When I say God's been blessing me, He's been blessing me, bro. So, like I said, it was a crazy situation. You know what I mean? Just being controlled. So I promised to everybody around me that I would never put myself through anything like that ever again. I don't care if I'm struggling. I'd rather struggle than have somebody willing enough to say they control any part of my life. You know what I'm saying? And if you're in that situation, get the fuck out. I don't care if you gotta be homeless for a little while. If you a hustler and you got in your mind that you want this or you want that, you gotta get that shit out. At the more, you gotta do what you gotta do. But at the end of the day, for your mental health and for your stability and for your sanity, please get out of that situation, because at the end of the day, that shit is never going to end well. Because at the end of the day, that shit's going to put you in a spot where you're, like, I was miserable, I was depressed, I wasn't happy, none of that shit. Because at the end of the day, as a man, and I'm only speaking for us men, well, I'm speaking for everybody, but this specific topic, this specific word I'm going to say, is like directed towards men. And you know, as men, we really want to be able to be men. We want to be able to direct how we want our life, how we get our money, funds, anything like that. So if you're in that situation, please get the fuck out of it and just figure out another way. If you believe in God, keep God first and make sure that God directs you on the path that He wants you to go on. You know what I mean? Everybody's not meant to stay in your life for a long time. But if you learn from experiences, you learn from your past mistakes. And, you know, you get out of the situation, you learn from it, and never put yourself through that shit again. Because that shit is not for the weak. I'm a very strong person, but that shit was down there breaking me to tear parts. Anyway, I ain't finna talk out the dog. We on the road to 300 subscribers. And like I said, I gotta pee. We on the road to 300 subscribers. If you're not already subscribed to the game. And I really appreciate y'all for supporting me. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I'm gone.